Hello again, Sandwich. I'm Greg Anderson. Welcome into another Meet the Candidates. Look, on the ballot in May, you will have many names, in fact, to vote for. Select board, school committee, library. But did you know that the number of names on the ballot are equal to the number of seats that are up for election, with the exception of one race, and that is moderator. I have as my guest today the incumbent. You know him as our moderator. You see him at Town Hall. His name is Garry Blank. Welcome, Garry. Good to see you.
Thank you, Greg. It's very nice to be here with you.
Yeah, well, I think this is an interesting thing because as soon as you walked into the studio, it's like, I don't recognize him. I don't recognize him. You got the beard. Where did the beard come from?
Well, you're giving me an opportunity to do a public service announcement because if you're 50 or older and have the opportunity to get your shingles shot, I suggest you do it and not wait. I got shingles.
Ouch.
And I couldn't shave for a period of time, and it just grew on me.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and a lot of people compliment me on it, so
Yeah.
I've kept it so far.
What do the judges say? You know,
Well,
do they walk in and
some of the judges have actually complimented me on it, although some of the attorneys look at me and say, geez, you got to shave that before we start this trial. And
right?
But it hasn't affected my ability to win my trials lately.
There you go. There you go. Well, look, I'm glad you're here. This is, as I was saying at the top of the show, this is a contested race. It's the only one that's a contested race. Everyone else is 3 open seats, three people running. But you have been the moderator for 30.
I was first elected from the floor of town meeting at
Yeah.
the May 1990 meeting.
Okay.
And I've always been interested in doing what I can for where I live.
Yeah.
And I really have been living in Sandwich, well, since 1984.
Okay.
Is when I bought my first, I bought a condominium first in Sandwich.
Yeah.
And, it was 96 when I bought my first house in Sandwich.
Okay.
And
So you're a sandwich guy.
Well, I grew up in Hyannis, but yes,
Yeah.
after I got through law school, and I knew I wanted to come back to the Cape. I just love
Yeah.
Cape Cod and grew up in Hyannis. And before I bought my condo, I bought an office space in the office condo here in Sandwich.
Yeah. Right on 130.
Right on 130.
Yeah.
So I was spending my weekends here, but I had to find a hotel.
Okay.
And during
Yeah.
the summer, it got difficult because I would come down to work in my Sandwich office on Friday
Yeah.
and Monday and enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
But it proved to be the smart move to buy a small condominium
Yeah.
at first.
So you have essentially, you had a short period of time where you were elected out. You were not the moderator. Was that a 3-year term, or was that a 1-year term?
There were 2 3-year terms where I sat on the sidelines, so
Okay.
to speak.
So what brings you back to, we're talking 30-something years later, here you are looking for another 3 years. What is it that brings you back to want to run again and be the moderator for another 3?
Well, I always wanted to do something what I can for my community.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to our lifestyle here in Sandwich and getting along with our neighbors. And my view is that peace, peace and quiet, peace on earth, if you will, is only established if everybody controls their immediate environment to the most or the greatest extent possible. Mm-hmm. And this democratic process that we call town meeting has been around for, hundreds of years now.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a process that always excited me when I was in high school. I was a debate and speech student.
Okay.
And town meeting was something that, prepared us sometimes for our speeches or our debates.
Yeah.
That we did in high school. So it's an open town meeting, and I like the fact that, everybody got to participate.
Yeah.
And
So you, by way of background, you are an attorney, and when you look at, when I am at town meeting or watching it on TV, but I'm at the meetings, you have to have a level of discipline to run the meeting. I mean, as moderator, you are running the meeting.
Yeah.
Does your law discipline inform how you are a moderator?
I have to say yes.
Yeah, how so?
Well, at town meeting, the moderator's job is to control the meeting and keep order. And part of an orderly meeting is making sure that all the speakers stick to relevant issues that are identified in the warrant. Mm-hmm. So the scope of the discussion is limited in practicality. And the more you allow people to go off the issues or what's relevant, the longer the meeting's going to get dragged out, and the less people are going to stay involved and listen, is what I find. So there are times where you have to be firm and shut people down, and it doesn't matter to me who they are, and I think I've proven that over the years.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when I have been in Sandwich for 15 years. I did not have kids in the school system. I am a taxpayer. I go to town meeting. I believe in voting. I believe in the democratic process. But it seems to me, and I'm interested in your take, because you're up on the podium and I'm down on the floor. When I look at the temperament and the tone and the tenor of town meetings, perhaps in the ones that I've been to, mostly, let's say, over the last 5-8 years, it seems to be contentious. It seems to be that people are showing up with a gripe. There's yelling from the room. And my father was a selectman, and in Stoughton, and I kind of watched that. But I feel like in our community, it's just a contentious scene. Do you see that? Am I just reading it wrong? What do you think?
Yeah, I think over the years that's come forward. In the older days, I don't think there was as many contentious arguments at the meeting. Yeah. Part of the idea of how our government operates is that there are many meetings preliminary to the town meeting, so that the voters, when they get to town meeting, really do, for the most part, understand what the goals are for the meeting. Mm-hmm. And of course, both sides, or there can be more than two sides, it can be 10 sides, are going to get hashed out again, although we're going to take a vote after we're done with our debate or discussion, if you will. And I like to call it discussion, but it can be debate. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, I think people understand they're going to hear the other side of things before we vote.
Do you feel, if I could just interrupt you, do you feel people are coming to town meeting informed, or do you feel like they are looking through a myopic lens and then they want to just blast away once they get up to that podium?
Well, when you say blast away, certain people, there have been outbursts, and I just want to point out, a moderator, no matter how good they are, can't stop somebody from saying something out of order before they say it. Yeah. So you try to control it. Sometimes you have to let it go a little bit longer than you want to before you can bring it under control, but that helps it come under control.
Yeah. Is it a tough job up there? I mean, you've got everyone up on the stage next to you. You've got how many, 300, 400 people sitting out there in front of you. You're on television. All eyes are on you. Do you ever feel like it's a tough job? It's tough to manage?
Well, there are some times that it gets tough. It's something different than what I do every day. So it's really not as tough as what I do regularly, at least in my mind, for me.
Yeah.
But when it gets tough, you do have to make some quick decisions as to what's appropriate or what's most appropriate.
Yeah.
And I take satisfaction in that, especially in my earlier years when I was challenged, I would always talk to the people and say, well, let's review it on tape. And, because we've had video of the town meetings, I think pretty much since I started, before I started. And I'm sort of proud because in every case I have been able to explain to the people that are asking why I did this or that, why I did it, and show them why it was the right thing to do to keep the meeting moving along.
Do you get people, whether it's that evening or after the fact, do you get people say, the hell were you thinking? Why would you do that? Why did this happen?
Well, it's not exactly that way.
Yeah. People are more friendly.
I don't know if they're more friendly, but they'll let me know that they didn't like this, that, or the other thing.
Yeah.
And, I try to talk to them and find out why they didn't like it and explain to them why it had to be that way and why that was appropriate.
Yeah.
And often the people that question me the most will become the better town meeting members because they begin to understand why the meeting runs that way.
Yeah.
We do have some people that like to speak a lot more than others.
Yeah.
And those are the people that really become my friends, if you will.
Okay.
Not that I would favor them, but I want them to understand why they might be frustrated and how they can do a better job. And, to that end, if anybody has any questions before the town meeting, whether it be how to amend something that's on the warrant, I've always met with them ahead of time. We have the preparatory meeting that most of the selectmen and the finance committee and the town administrator and town clerk all attend, where we go through the warrant. And I do invite anybody and everybody that has reasons to want to get their opinion in to come to the preparatory meeting.
Yeah.
Because then I get an idea of what they're going to do. And I can see if they want or need help.
Yeah.
And I really like to know ahead of time if people, for example, are going to bring amendments. It's good to have them in writing.
Yeah.
That way there's no guessing what they're trying to do or say.
So the numbering of the warrants, I know that it seems to always be a discussion. You put the ones that everyone's going to talk about at the end, so it keeps people there. You move them to the front. Talk to me about that process.
Well, there's a bit of a misperception.
Okay.
In that I honestly don't have anything these days to do with the order of the articles in the warrant.
You as moderator do not.
I really don't. That has been left up to the selectmen.
Okay.
They're meeting all the time. They're sort of on the front lines. They work with the town administrator. And I take what they give me on the warrant.
Okay.
And to that end, if people want to change what's on the warrant, there are motions that can be brought to change the order of the articles if somebody wants to try to do that. I don't necessarily allow that to happen often because you don't want people jockeying for position, so to speak.
Right.
Where the selectmen have set an order and they have their reasons that I don't concern myself with.
Yeah. Okay. The moderator job, so you have a challenger, and if you do not win, you got a guy, who would be stepping in, and there are things beyond the job of running the town meeting and special town meetings that are part of the moderator. Can you give us a little bit of a Reader's Digest? What are the other functions of the moderator job that you do or that this other person will be doing?
Aside from running the town meetings, I appoint the Capital Improvement Planning Committee and the Finance Committee.
Okay.
And those are, to me, very, very important positions. Of course, they're all volunteers. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that we want to know who is out there that will volunteer for these positions. There are a lot of volunteer positions in town. So I try to go to the talent bank that we have mm-hmm. and see who's interested in the Finance Committee or the Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
Yeah.
And then I vet them.
Yeah. How do you vet them? Let's take the Finance Committee, for example.
Very important.
Yeah.
I ask them to come see me in my office at 449 Route 130. Mm-hmm. I do ask them if they have a CV, curriculum vitae, that they bring it with them mm-hmm. for my file. I don't share that with anybody, but I am interested in picking very well educated, very well intentioned, but a diverse group of people. And I have to say today that I am very happy and proud of the Finance Committee and the Capital Improvement Planning Committee. I really think we have two great committees with good, intelligent, and diverse people. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily watch them. I appoint them, and then it's hands off. But if for some reason somebody has a complaint, that's when I try to figure out if there's a better way to put a better person on the committee.
Have you ever appointed someone that you later regretted?
I can say that there are probably two.
Yeah.
In the 34 years.
Yeah.
That I sort of regretted.
Yeah.
And that's only because what you have to do when you're on a committee is understand that once you've debated or discussed the issues and your committee votes on it, you're done.
Yeah.
And there have been a couple of appointments where the people can't let go of a certain issue and they try to bring it up at every meeting, and
yeah.
it bogs down the committee. And that's what I've heard about.
So when you're looking at this race and you are looking for another 3-year term, does it feel different now with a challenger than it has in the past when you've been challenged? Is there anything different about now than then?
Well, yeah, yes, in that I've been doing it much longer than in the past. I have had my share of challengers. I don't want to name them, but I've been fortunate enough to win most of my elections. The only the times that I didn't win, there was sort of an issue about health insurance that, as a young moderator, I was getting, because the state law did provide that moderators would get health insurance. Mm-hmm. And my own Finance Committee, and I guess I got to be proud of them, because they saved the town $1 million by taking me off the health insurance, but they had to go to the state legislature and pass a special legislation, a special bill, mm-hmm. to remove the moderator's position from the health care.
Yeah, yeah. And that, so there is no insurance.
Not for the moderator.
Not for the moderator, yeah. But does it feel different in terms of, you've got social media, you are a member of the community, so is he, you've got experience, he doesn't, how does it feel running a campaign, I know you're not standing out on Quaker Meeting with a sign, but how does it feel different?
It really doesn't feel a lot different. It's something, though, that I feel I've done well for a long time. And as I said before, it's different than what I do every day. It gets me excited because I want to run a good meeting.
Yeah.
And I believe my reputation is that these meetings I've run are good. We've gotten through them. In the old days, I was given up to 60 articles and a warrant to get through, and they don't want to have a second night because,
Right.
well, there's an expense to it.
Right.
So I've always been conscious about, what it costs if we can't get through the meeting in one night.
Yeah.
Not that I want to rush things, but you got to keep them moving, and you have to keep the meeting under control and keep order.
So when you look at the meeting structure right now, do you see that there are ways to make it more efficient? Because your challenger does say he wants to make town meeting more efficient.
Well,
What's your thought on efficiency there?
we're going to try something new at this annual town meeting coming up.
Tell me about it.
And we're going to have electronic voting for the first time. And it's something we've been looking into for a number of years now, but in the early days, we were presented with voting on your telephone.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel it was secure enough.
Yeah.
Now we've got what the state and the federal government uses in the legislature, which are clickers that have a yes or no and then undecided.
Okay.
So there are basically 3 buttons that you push. So the idea is, instead of counting the vote, we'll have it within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Bottom line, the way I see it is, we're going to allow people to vote during a period of between 15 to 30 seconds. And as soon as that period is over, the town clerk, Taylor White, will have the results on his computer.
So there's no need for a recount.
Correct.
Everything will move a lot faster. Talk
We'll
about
see.
efficiency.
We'll see. I mean, there are some votes, and I've talked to other town moderators and town clerks where they've been using these electronic clickers, I'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to mention, this is all going to be self-contained within the auditorium.
Okay.
And they're very secure. And the only thing we have to ask everybody is to remember to return them on the way out.
Oh, shoot, that's right. Yeah.
But what I've learned is that where votes are going to be basically unanimous, the other towns are finding that the moderator is still saving time by calling the vote.
So you still do a voice vote?
Maybe.
Okay.
We're going to be experimenting a little bit. I mean, for the first time we have them, and I'm still debating myself
Yeah.
whether I'm going to start using the clickers to see how it works.
Yeah.
But when we get to some of the more ordinary, mundane things that pass every year because
Yeah.
it's moving money from a special fund to where it's supposed to be,
Right, right.
and we're pretty sure it's going to pass unanimously,
Yeah.
I may still call a vote. I'm not taking that
Yeah.
off the plate.
And when you say call a voice vote?
Voice vote.
Yeah. So why wouldn't you just either do all clicker or not?
Well, because the clickers are going to take an extra 30 seconds before the vote
I
comes
see
in.
what you're saying. Okay, so you gotta, okay.
And this is the experience that I'm gleaning from other town
Yeah.
moderators and town clerks that I've talked to.
So are you gonna have anybody that's gonna be saying, oh, my clicker is faulty? This is rigged.
Well, we hope not. Because, it's the last thing I would think of.
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought that up, but, so let me ask you this.
That's certainly not the point to town meeting, no.
Exactly. What's your thought on representative town meeting?
Well, my line is solid, and I won't cross the line until the town decides to change it. Right now, we have an open town meeting, and it's been working, and it's worked for since I started in 1990, and I like it. I think it's unique. I think that having a representative town meeting could present additional problems we don't have, in that you need, I don't know, 50 to 70 representatives, and sometimes in town it's hard to find volunteers.
Yeah.
What you said when you opened up this interview, all the other races have no challengers. We're lucky to have people running for every position.
Yeah.
And there, I have to admit, been some years where it's hard to find volunteers.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we would have everybody running for each district that needs representation.
Yeah.
Now, that said, I want to do my job in an open town meeting, and while we have it, I want that job. It's exciting to me. It's my contribution to our community.
Yeah.
At least one of them.
Yeah. You really do see this as serving your community.
Yeah. I treat it as a very special thing. I've been a lawyer in town since 1984. That was when I actually bought my office, the first office here.
Yeah.
And, I have made it a point not to take any cases or be involved in anything that directly comes to the town. Mm-hmm. And if the one time I did, I had to back out because, well, it led to sort of an issue that
Conflict
was
of
a
interest.
town issue. So.
Yeah.
Any town moderator really can't be involved in the town and talk to people openly about what's going on.
Yeah.
It's really, you got to be conservative.
Right.
And keep some of your opinions to yourself, or a lot of them.
You're up there voting as well, correct?
Well, only if there's a tie.
Oh, interesting.
I don't necessarily vote all the time unless there's a tie. I mean, I can vote.
You can vote.
I can vote, but once you vote, if people are watching, then they know how you vote. And one of the things that
Because you're holding the card.
moderator's got to be neutral.
Yeah.
And if there's a reconsideration and they know how the moderator voted,
Yeah.
you should step down.
Can I see that book?
Certainly.
Tell me, this is the town meeting time, a handbook of parliamentary law. So this is up at the podium with you at every town meeting.
Yes, it's the Bible, so to speak.
It's the Bible. So this will, and you can't see, but there are handwritten notes in here that how difficult is it? I've been in committees where you have to. We had a board meeting in this room earlier today for Sandwich Community Media. You have to vote. You have to abstain. You have to this. You have to all of those things. How difficult? This is a thick book of a lot of rules and responsibilities. Is it tough to learn?
Well, it's not tough to learn, no. At first, for inexperienced people, it looks like it might be a lot. And it might be
I'm
tough.
intimidated just looking at that.
But really, a regular voter that comes to town meeting can get by knowing 3 or 4 rules that we go by that prevail most of the time. And those would be, the motion, the main motion. We always start with the main motion.
Yeah.
Then the subsidiary motions are the motions to amend. Okay, that can be important, although it doesn't happen as much as you might think.
Yeah.
The other motion is the previous to move the question, which
Yeah.
would end the debate, and you
Ends
take
it.
the vote.
Yeah.
The other one that comes up is to indefinitely postpone, which kills the motion and the article, and you move to the next article.
Yeah.
And then there's the infamous reconsideration.
Yes. We've seen that happen.
And if you can understand those 4 motions, you really can do well at any town meeting. And the other motions, while they're good to know, and we can talk about any of the others, are all sort of, at least in my mind, if you study it long enough, in the table of basic points and motions, which is in the front of the town meeting time.
Yeah, yeah.
And we also print this on the warrant, so everybody that picks up the warrant has the table of basic points of motion.
Interesting.
And, you know, quite honestly, and it's advised in the town meeting time, when questions come up or motions that aren't the usual motions are brought forward, well, I'll admit it, the town council is sitting right next to me at town meeting.
Yeah.
And the conservative thing to do, if there's any question in my own mind or doubt, is to take a moment to refer with
Yeah.
town council.
That is one of those moments where when you do turn to your left and you are in one of these and then Bud leans in and everyone, you know what happens out on everyone out there is like, oh yeah, we're coming back for more discussion. Well, Gary's a little unsure about what to do.
It's not that I'm unsure. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the time I make the decisions as quickly as you can.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hurt to be completely sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not that I have a doubt, but if it seems like a lot of people in the audience are persuaded that something else should happen,
Yeah.
I will check with the
Yeah.
town council
Well,
or the town administrator.
And and we're running out of time, but I have one more question for you. But as I'm talking to you, and having watched you in all of these meetings, you're a very deliberate speaker. You speak slow. You're very intentional with what you're saying, and I wonder if that is kind of not that we need a Waka Waka guy up there, but you're very intentional, and that can be frustrating to that person out there that's just banging the fist saying, I want my voice heard. You're a little bit more measured in how you speak. Do you agree?
Yes, I find that it helps move the meeting along if I can sort of stick to what I have to say
Yeah.
and not ad lib much.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I don't ad
Yeah.
lib here or there, but and I'm also getting more mature.
Yeah.
With age.
I can see it. I can see it. It's right there.
As a young moderator, I think I spoke more quickly than I do now.
There you go. So I want to wrap up with this very quickly, and I'll just ask you to be as brief as you can. Why would somebody who is going in to vote on May 9th circle your name and not your opponent? Why you?
Well, I have the experience and the track record, and I know how to run a good meeting. You know, in the past, I've been asked many times to train other moderators how to run the meeting, and I learned from a very good moderator who, when I watched his meetings before I ran my second meeting, I couldn't believe the pomp and circumstance and how long it took to get to the issues. So I learned from that to do something a little bit different.
A little different. Excellent. Well, Gary, good luck. We're going to see you up at the podium
Yes.
before, that's on Tuesday, before the election, then
Correct.
Thursday. Good luck, my friend.
Thank you very much.
So good to meet you in person. See, I've been in the same room with you, but you're up there and I'm down here. Thank you so much. Remember to vote, everybody. It is very important to cast your vote and participate in this process. I'm Greg Anderson, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.